You're wasting time, gas, and you're losing your mind giving bids out to people who were never going to use you in the first place. This was the biggest mistake me and my brother made when we first started our construction company. We were going around the world giving everyone bids, and these people didn't have a budget, or they were just shopping, or they weren't planning on using you in the first place. And even worse, they were probably like, oh, we're thinking about starting in 6 months to a year. Prices ain't going to be the same in 6 months to a year. So let's cut all that out of the way. I'm going to show you the system that I adopted to allow me to give bids over the phone within 5 minutes. And if they're like, oh, that sounds good, then we schedule the call. Let me show you how I do it. All right, so the tool we're using today is called Airtable. I love Airtable. It's free. You can do tons of things in it before you have to pay. I mean, you'll probably never even have to pay if you don't use certain tools. The very first thing we want to do is, say you get a phone call, lead comes in and say, hey, we have a deck, okay? And they're like, we have an old deck, we need to tear it down, put a new one up, okay? You say, okay, what size is your deck? And they say, oh, it's roughly 12 by 12, and we know 12 by 12 is roughly 144 square feet. And with that being said, perfect. We set this in 144 square feet, and then we want to go ahead. We can attach the lead to this calculation to make this even easier. When you get a phone call that comes in, you might put the information in. So, for instance, Josh calls, you put his name in, his number, his email, or if you're running ads, you might already got this data on the back end. Just fill it out. Now, this page is actually attached to this page, so we're able to go ahead and connect this lead to here and have all the information right here with the bid. And so either you can do this while they're on the phone, or you could say, hey, we'll call you back in a few minutes, or we'll schedule a time to call with the bid. I like to go ahead and do it while I'm on the phone, because when I give them a price, I want to hear what their responses are. Because if I kind of hear them pause, or I hear like a ooh, or then I know they weren't planning on spending that much money, and I can kind of weed them out if they're not willing to say, hey, that sounds good. So back to this is now material types. I've set this up to where I know, like, if we're doing repairs, I got mid repairs, it might be like replacing posts, handrails, things like that. For this, we're building a new deck from scratch. This includes demolition. I'm going to go with pressure treated. This is how my number's set up. Now, you'll see it says material rates $21. We know that's per square foot. So for 144 square foot for the materials to build from scratch, we're going to be looking around $3,000. And then if they want to include underdecking, which some people do, you can go ahead and calculate that in here. It's going to be 104 square feet if we were doing underdecking. This is what I got worked in, roughly $9 a square foot. And you see it calculates those numbers for you, okay? Labor rates, depending on what we're building and how complex it gets, I have a certain labor rate set for each. So let's just say this is wood, it's basic, we can go labor lower. And even depending on where it's at, we could go labor mid, because we're including demolition, cleanup, everything. Then from here we have a labor total that's been calculated. So it's pretty straightforward. And then what's going to happen is maybe they need concrete. They want to do a concrete pad. You can add that. Say under the 144 square foot, they want to do roughly 144 square feet there. And we'll say 4-inch reinforced. And some of these numbers in here are just for sample purposes. You need to customize these numbers to match your business and how you guys operate. And then the next thing, so you'll see how it calculates the concrete total. Now, this is what I like, because it's one thing, like, we didn't use to calculate, but if it's so far over, like if it's like a couple hours away and we're not going to waste a bunch of time driving there and back within a day, we'll go ahead and work up, maybe 3 days, 2 days. A 12 by 12 deck should take 1 to 2 days, depending on how you set it. Now we have roughly $360 for hotel spend, and then travel time, 2 hours there, 2 hours back. So we'll say 4 hours, and that travel time is just calculated for just traveling there and traveling back. We're not, if we got to run to the store, I don't usually calculate that into the price. And then my permit, I got a permit worked out where I usually get my permits pulled for $1,500. And so this brings us down to here. to where this is labor and material price is $12,380. Now, this number you see right here that says quote, this is calculating 10%, but you can do 15 to 20% based on how you operate. Typically, what happens is for us is the labor, the labor that we have worked into it usually ends up coming back to us because we don't use all that labor, but we budget to make sure, like, hey, if it takes a longer, we're able to pay the guys what they need to get paid in order to complete the job. So yeah, this is how I save my time. I don't spend a bunch of time with going and bidding jobs before they even tell me that they have a budget in mind, because that's another thing too. You could say, well, what's your budget? 8 out of 10 times I hear, oh, I really don't know how much things cost. Well, it doesn't matter how much things cost. At the end of the day, the only thing that matters is your budget. This deck could cost $1,000,000 and this one could cost $5,000. It doesn't matter what what it costs. It only matters what you have to be able to spend. Don't say that to the customer. That's just how you need to think. And so when someone says, I don't really know how much things cost, you just say, look, I need to know either, what your budget is, or I can give you a rough number based on, the size of your deck. And then you can say, hey, for us to go out there and do a 12x12 deck with underdecking system and a 4-inch slab, it's going to be around $13,755. Okay, and this is going to make sure that you make some money on the back end and you can complete the job with the necessary funds, because nothing's worse, and I've been there, is doing a job and not making any money at the end of the job. It's the worst feeling in the world, and it makes you think I should just go work for somebody else for a little while. And yeah, so this is the system that I adopted. I don't take any more trips to customers' houses before I give them a price and they say, yes, that sounds good. Another good thing is, once they say, yes, it sounds good, I go ahead and check, yes, okay, what quote? And then the next page, I might even go ahead and schedule a walk around. Now, the way I have my system set up now, when I click schedule a walk around, this will automatically email the customer and send them a message giving them the ability to set up a time for us to walk around. And that's it, man. Nice and easy. Hope you enjoyed. Have a great rest of your day.